Welcome, witches, wizards, and muggles alike, to another enchanting episode of Magical Tales from the Slytherin Common Room, bringing your favorite Harry Potter fanfiction to audio format. So sit back, relax, and Accio headphones, and let the magic begin. Apostasy by Deydralinne, Chapter 17, Soulbound. Potion fumes assaulted her nostrils. So far, it was looking how she had imagined it would, and at this stage, Hermione was hopeful that she had assigned the correct properties to make this successful. Hermione dropped a sprig of skullcap into the cauldron and began turning counterclockwise. The potion had already been brewing for over a week, and the timing had to be perfect. She couldn't afford to delay it longer by messing this up. Hermione ignored the light breeze that filtered through the room as the door opened. Ginny's familiar perfume reached her, and she couldn't fight the amused smirk from tugging at her lips. "Hello, Ginevra, did you sleep well?" Hermione had gone to see the redhead late the night before, only to find her room empty. She needed 0 guesses to figure out where she had gone. For all the grief everyone gave her about her growing attraction to a certain blonde wizard, Ginny's magnetization towards Blaise had been worse, and honestly, Hermione was surprised that she hadn't pounced on him sooner. Hermione counted out the seconds before she dropped the ground prickly pear needles into the liquid. As a ripple of purple spread out to the edges of the cauldron, she ignored the way that her friend slinked into the room without objection to her first name, which told Hermione everything she needed to know. Hermione waited anxiously for it to transform from purple to deep blue. If it didn't happen, she had miscalculated something and would be forced to start over, and that was not something that she was willing to admit to herself or anyone else. Theo was supposed to be here to learn this, but he had been sent to Surrey on a mission with Draco. It was disappointing because she had hoped he would be here throughout the entire process, but neither job could wait. Not a week, actually. Ginny's grin was clear in the tone of her voice. Hermione snorted. "I'm happy for you." She raised an eyebrow. A sigh of release fell out of her as ever so slowly it turned blue. Hermione tipped in the aloe vera slime and dried stag beetles. 3 clockwise, followed by precisely 3 fifths of a turn counterclockwise, steam curled up out of the potion as it began bubbling. Hermione placed the lid back on top and waved her wand to set a timer for 45 minutes. Ginny jumped onto the counter in the middle of the room and looked at Hermione with a smile. She was trying to fight. Hermione's eyes narrowed at her in suspicion. "Oh, God, you two are going to be insufferable now if the sex was that good," she teased jokingly. Ginny's elation didn't waver. If anything, she looked nervous about telling her something, which wasn't Ginny. Hermione had known every detail of her pathetic sex life with Harry. She had known details that had forever changed the way she looked at the man, and in all honesty, she was expecting Ginny to have started spilling the beans the second she walked in here. "Ginevra," Hermione drawled sarcastically, "what's going on? Please tell me the sex wasn't so bad that you want us to cut and run." Ginny huffed a laugh. "No, the sex was mind-blowing, but that is not the most shocking revelation." Hermione tried to rack her brain. Perhaps Ginny had seen something. "Well, spill it out then." Hermione rolled her eyes. Ginny took a deep breath and sat up straight. "Okay, what do you know about soul bonds?" Hermione blinked at her several times slowly. When Ginny didn't elaborate further, Hermione sighed. It was a ritual that some witches and wizards used to use to tie their souls together during marriage bonding ceremonies. It started to become frowned upon back at the turn of the last century because it was said to be a work of dark magic to force a soulmate bond. "Ginevra, tell me that you..." "Right. So obviously, there were no guarantees that 2 souls would be able to find each other in the next life, or that they would find each other too late. So the way the magic worked was that you would be drawn towards the person you had a soul bond, but you wouldn't actually know anything for sure until you reconnect. I always thought it was a myth. You know, one of those, things that grandparents used to warn you against to scare you out of getting married too young. I never actually believed it. I mean, who would? I always thought Blaise was attractive and scolded, God! But I wouldn't say I've ever drawn to him before coming here. But then, last night, you two are soulbound?" Hermione shrieked, her eyes round and her mouth falling open. "Yes, it seems that that is the case. Ginny started chuckling in disbelief, her cheeks flooding with a tinge of red. Hermione was seldom speechless, though she supposed that if she were a time to be speechless, now it would be. What did one even say to that? Well, what the fuck? Hermione exclaimed, followed by a nervous laugh. Are you serious? Ginny nodded. Crazy, right? Hermione shook her head in disbelief. Okay, so rewind. You and Blaise started doing the deed. Doing the deed, Ginny giggled and raised an eyebrow at her. And while you were doing that, a soul bond from a past life activated? Hermione asked incredulously. I know. Ginny bit her lip and nodded in agreement. She supposed that it wasn't that crazy. This was bound to happen from time to time. The ceremony had been very popular once upon a time. The fact that they were in a war didn't change history. If anything, it just confirmed that this was where they belonged. Ginny belonged with Blaise, and Hermione belonged anywhere that Ginny was.
It would mean that she would have to streamline the process of recreating the protection rings for their housemates, because there was no way in which she was going to let Blaise die just when Ginny reconnected with him. It would require telling them about their own rings, though, and despite feeling positive that they were supposed to be here, a part of her felt uneasy about it. She and Ginny had spent so long being able to rely on only each other. It was still hard to wrap her head around the fact that wasn't the case anymore, especially now. She was getting there slowly. So what does that mean? Hermione asked, coming to stand next to her and bumping her shoulder into Ginny's lightly. I don't even know, Ginny sighed, and offered her a shrug. I guess it means that I'm off the market? Hermione tilted her head. That's a shame. The Frenchmen will be heartbroken. Ginny chuckled. Oh, shut up. Hermione's smile softened. Are we happy about this? Ginny nodded. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I wouldn't have chosen it if I had known beforehand, but now that it's there again, I can't imagine wishing for anything different. Does that make sense? Hermione nodded her understanding. Yeah, I get it. Though, could she really? She didn't know what the bond entailed. That made it so special. So really, she could only be happy for her friend and do what she could to help and support her. Well then, congratulations. The knowledge that she was truly staying here long-term was actually somewhat soothing. She had never been one for moving constantly. It made her feel uneasy. It did mean that whatever was going on in terms of her feelings towards Draco would likely get worse before it got better. But there was something stubborn in her that dug in its heels. She refused to make a fool of herself and act on it first. If he felt the same way, then he could come to her. Hermione pushed off the counter and pulled some parchment with notes scrawled all over it. How's the potion for Tor coming? Hermione shrugged. I guess we will find out in, she trailed off, turning to look at the small, somber blue numbers. 37 minutes. I'm hopeful. Hermione frowned. She had anticipated more backlash and pushback for what was essentially an experimental potion from, at the very least, Theo. Everyone just seemed to have this confidence in her that she would be able to pull everything she created off. Ginny had never for a second appeared to doubt that the rings would work and keep them safe when they started this madness. Theo now seemed to trust that his wife would be well looked after and that whatever concoction Hermione came up with would be safe for her to drink. That, of course, was the intention, but she couldn't know for sure. Are you nervous about it? Ginny eyed her warily. The redhead often knew her better than she knew herself. Hermione shrugged. It's not often I have other people's well-being on the line with my experiments. But no, I am certain that I calculated everything correctly. The potion will be fine. The only question comes down to whether or not it helps. Ginny smiled at her. I have no doubt that it will. Even if it's only a little bit, she will still be better off. Hermione swallowed and nodded her head. I have some ideas about Voldy's potion too, but I think I'm going to need to visit the graveyard. Oh God, you're not going to make him drink his father's remains, are you? Ginny pulled a disgusted face. Hermione chuckled but avoided answering her friend all the same. Hearing that Tom Riddle Sr. would need to donate a bone to her potion was probably not the appropriate conversation to be having directly after, Hey, Hermione, guess what? I found my soulmate. So she settled for a smile. So, she pointedly changed the subject. You and Blaise. Does that mean I'm losing my neighbor? Ginny genuinely thought about it for a moment. Eventually, probably, but in the near future, I would like not to rush things. At the end of the day, we will still need to learn who each other is in this life. Our bond streamlines that process, but it's not like I'm getting married tomorrow or anything. Hermione raised an eyebrow. Yeah, we will see about that, she teased. Ginny opened her mouth to argue when the shed door opened again, when Theo burst in, breathless and hurried. Theodore, Hermione smirked, her eyes dropping to his shoes. Shoes was putting it generously. It seemed that the brunette wizard had taken an extreme liking to the pink gumboots, as she seldomly saw him without them these days. Hi, I'm here. Sorry, did I miss it? He panted, leaning on his knees to catch his breath. Not all of it. I'll catch you up on what you missed with this next batch, if this works. Hermione placated. How did you guys get on in Surrey? Hermione didn't mean to sound as concerned as she did. Truly, she was just interested. But the way that Ginny and Theo looked at each other and smirked irked her. Forget it. I don't even know why I bother. Don't you? Ginny teased with clear enjoyment. Hermione knew that the household had made numerous bets on her and Draco's non-existent sex life. She hadn't bothered to question Draco's willingness to fuck her since the very short-lived fight outside last week. But he had yet to make any indication that it went deeper than surface-level attraction. It could be as simple as her being a single woman in close proximity to him. Surrey was fine, Princess. Draco survived without injury, Theo teased. Hermione rolled her eyes in response. Oh, for fuck's sake. I wasn't asking about Malfoy. I was asking about Surrey. You know, where the mission was? Theo chuckled. Yeah, we know what you asked versus what you meant. Surrey was fine. I killed 13 people. Couldn't tell you their names, Hermione scoffed. Is that all? 13 is nothing, she mocked pointedly. Theo licked his lips and stared at her long and hard. She had yet to see him look quite as passive-aggressive before, as if calculating a sum that didn't actually exist. Actually, Princess, I believe I have 12 up on you since you arrived. Hermione scoffed and crossed her arms, giving him a challenging look. That's only because I haven't been on any raids. She could feel the tightening in her chest, the one that always drove her to win at everything because it was too uncomfortable not to be. She might have lost the need to consume books at a ghastly rate, but she hadn't lost the need to be the best of the best. She blamed her competitive nature on her mother. Even if you had been at 50 raids, I would still be ahead. Theo straightened and stated with confidence that had her seething. It seemed that the wizard before her was just as competitive as she was, and now she felt like she had something to prove. Care to put money on it? Her eyes narrowed on Theo. She liked Theo. He was fun to be around and had a similar style of humor to her and Ginny. He seemed as ready to annoy Draco as she was, and he had put up with her excessive use of the wireless at loud volumes without complaint, especially when she did it to annoy Draco. Right now, she was gearing up to do whatever it took to take him down. Oh, you're so on, sweetheart. Theo licked his teeth. 50 galleons to the winner of each raid, and the first to 100 gets 500. Hermione held out her hand to shake on it. Deal. Ginny chuckled beside them in amusement. Oh, great. I'm going to end up somehow refereeing this, aren't I? Ginny turned to her with a teasing glower. I doubt it, Gin. You will be too busy screwing Blaze's brains out. Ginny fought a grin. At least one of us is getting laid, unlike someone who won't admit that she wants. Hermione frowned and shook her head. I have admitted it, but I also refuse to be the one to crack first. If he wants me, then he can come be the one to beg, not the other way around, she finished smugly. Theo chuckled beside her. You two definitely fit in here.